forming in today's world, and I was like, what the fuck? And look deeper into the whatever 44 who are specifically sealed in Revelation.
Oh, hello. Trusty Ape. I guess I'm doing a thing today. Kind of somewhat off the cuff, though. I had managed to clear a bunch of videos out of the Watch Later playlist, and somehow I ended up putting a bunch back in. So, got some short ones. Thought I'd start off with this one. This is a testimony from Apostle Bulemzi's channel or whatever. But these people send her videos with cool stuff that happens in their lives, and then they just, attribute everything that happens to them to Jesus. So that's fun. So we'll get right into this. Might open it up for a bit. We'll see what happens here. Happy Sunday.
My year of victory. My year of victory. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. My name is Hosanna, and I'm here to give a powerful testimony to glorify God for what He has done for me.
Now, spoiler alert, I'm not sure how powerful this is going to be. We'll leave that up to your interpretation. I wasn't highly compelled by it, but all right.
In my year of victory. Many of you know that I was in nursing school since January 2024. God told me to go to nursing school, and I obeyed God. And I can tell you that God...
So God told her to go to nursing school January 2024, apparently.
God has walked with me.
But that's not the whole story, is it? She's going to tell us the truth later.
100% through this whole year and 3 months. And He never left my side. So I just want to thank God for this ministry that has helped me in so many ways to even go through this journey through school.
Okay, so there's the ministry. The ministry has helped you through school. That may be true, right?
Financial blessings that helped me to not...
Financial blessings? So people gave you money. People from the church gave you money. That's not God.
To ease a lot of worries that I didn't have to worry about while I was going through school. The prayers, the encouragements,
okay, thoughts, prayers. Okay, cool. People were rooting for you.
Deliverances. So many things had to break off of me, even while I was going through this process.
What does she mean by deliverances? I don't know what does she mean by that?
Process, all the way up to the end, all the way up to the last week, I was still going through deliverances, especially during this 100 days of fast.
You're going through what? What did she say she was?
Through this process, all the way up to the end, all the way up to the last week, I was still going through deliverances.
Deliverances. It's like the movie, right? What does she mean, though? Like, when you say deliverances, biblically, deliverance signifies God's act of rescuing His people from peril, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, or are often portrayed as a symbolic representation of spiritual liberation through Christ. Okay, so she could have just been like having a hard time, whatever. These people gave her some money, they were nice to her. I mean, that's cool, But what did God do?
Especially during this 100 days of fast, especially during the 7 days dry, I just want to thank God. I just want to honor God that because when I tell you,
Yeah, I guess these people are doing dry fasting, which is, I hear it's really unhealthy. I mean, I haven't tried it, but
I can't take credit, not 1%. It was all God who helped me through this. I thank him and I honor him. And I just want to thank Queen Apostle for all her support through this whole journey.
good morning, sure. Yeah, and of course, they all have to, you know, kiss the feet of the channel owner here, Queen Apostle, Apostle Queen, whatever. She's humble.
She really encouraged me to keep going, giving me scriptures, always answering when I message her to encourage me to keep going, telling me that I'm more than a conqueror. Those things helped me. They stuck in my mind. I was able to go back and read some stuff that just to get me over, just to help me get through it. And I'm just today, I'm still shocked that yesterday was my last day of school. And when I tell you I came out victorious, I came out victorious.
That's cool, and you should be proud of that. You worked hard for whatever degree or whatever you did. You should be proud of that.
With the help of the Lord, he did not allow me to fail.
But there it is. It's always with the help of the Lord. Okay, the help of the. I don't know. Was God, doing your studying for you? Did you just pray and have the knowledge, or did you have to do work? Did you have to put in the effort to get your degree?
The first time I took my exit exam, I made a 699. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt defeated. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how did I get so low? And it hurt.
Hello, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights and Big Bad Mama. Good to see you today. Welcome.
For me to even have to tell Queen that I didn't pass. But guess what? I went back in and I went hard. I studied so hard and I had encouragement from a lot of the ladies in the ministry.
So she had done this before, and the first time she failed. See? She's been through this before. First time she failed, she went back, she studied harder. Maybe she prayed harder too, I don't know, but we don't have any evidence of divine intervention here. You studied, you read the books you needed to read, you took your notes, you took the test. Like, that's all you, man. Like, take credit for your work.
Thank you so much. My mother, my children, thank you everybody who have helped me through this journey. Thank you so much. When I tell you, when I went back in, hey, I stepped on the devil's head. I stomped on his head. I scored higher.
Wait, what did the devil have to do with it? How are you stepping on the devil's head here? What? Like, because you got good grades, you were smashing the devil? What, how does that work?
Then almost a lot of ladies in my class.
She scored higher than almost a lot of ladies, Not quite, almost a lot.
I went from 699 to 1011, 1011.
That's improvement. That's good.
I shocked myself. When I tell you, I know it was God who helped me through. And this 100 days of fast, my year of victory.
I don't know if there's any, correlation there. If, possibly, like, fasting could make you cognitively sharper, but then it's going to impair you at some point. I don't know. I'm not sure what the connection is there. Cher Wilkes says she didn't even have to crack open a book. Just the Bible, yeah. We're past the class there. No, she prayed for knowledge, right? She just prayed for knowledge. No, she said she like studied her ass off.
This 100 days of fasting is so important. When I did the 7 days fasting, I'm going to tell you, I told God that I was like, Lord, I can't do this. This is hard. This is my last stretch. I need to focus and study. So on day 2 of the fast, I broke. And I said, Lord, I'm just going to do 7 and 7 because my eyes were turning me when I would look at my notes and stuff to study and read. I could not focus. So on day 3.
And there she's saying, I mean, it actually hindered her, right? Fasting. And she got through it nonetheless, right? But she's like, she was about to break. Well, she should have been, focused and studying for her exam, which luckily she passed.
3 of the fast, God made me start over and do it the right way. And I was like, Lord, how am I going to do this? So, but I obeyed him this time. I started over.
So she's saying she was actually fasting for like 10 days and she had like some minor lapse in there.
And thank God Miss Vivian told the dream about the honey. The honey is what helped me get through when I went to school, when I had to read, when I had to take an exam. It was the honey.
What honey? I don't know what we're talking about here. It must be an inside thing.
The
Something about
secret
some honey
that God gave us to get through. Not only that, God instructed me to do 10 days dry. And I just used the honey and water. And I obeyed him. I did those 10 days. And I didn't even understand at first why God wanted me to do the 10 days. But now I know why. It was necessary.
So now she's saying it was supposed to be 10. First it was supposed to be 7. Then she broke the fast after 3 days. And now God said it was supposed to be 10 days. None of this is making any sense to me. She's not consistent with her story here. Hey, my awesome life. Good to see you, Christian Carpenter. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. Geo Sam says, seems this God causes much worry in his believers. Yeah. Yeah, a whole lot of nonsense. A whole lot of praising God for making your life more difficult, it seems. How does she know it was God telling her to do these things? Well, because the Apostle Queen, who she follows on YouTube, told her it was God telling her. Even though it was also the YouTube cult leader who was telling her.
For me to come out of nursing school. The 10 days and my score was 1011. 1011. So I just want to thank God and honor God for those instructions. And I went through so many deliverances. God showed me so much about my life in those 10 days. And I have not been the same since those 10 days. I have seen so many things concerning my life. So many things I have come out of in those 10 days. So I just want to thank God and glorify his name.
And just to clarify, again, the channel that we're pulling this from is the cult leader's YouTube channel. So these women make these videos and they send them to this woman, knowing they're going to be posted up here. So they do this for like accolades within this community. And we've covered her before. Like they helped pay for her little compound. She has a compound, I think, down in Texas. And she's got these women like, servicing her and stuff like that. Supposedly, yeah, she's a total like cult of personality or whatever.
For what he has done for me. I went to nursing school in 2005 and I quit. It is 2025 and I have completed. To God be all the glory. Thank you all for your support, your encouragement through this year and 3 months. We made it. To God be the glory, my year of victory.
All right, that was that. Not too compelling for me. I don't know about y'all, but that was that woman's testimony. And the more outrageous, the more convincing she is to those who believe like her. That's right, Jose. Oh,
Concentrate fire on the target.
some type of
When I say
technical-
historical science,
Okay, now we're not. I don't know if I'm going to do that one today. I don't think I'm doing that one today. James Apperson, good to see you. And I'll just post one of them down there. If anybody wants to come in, we're open for a little bit here. You can take this one out of the list. All right, and maybe spin it this way a little bit. I haven't watched this next video yet. But this is going to be an older debate on gender and feminism. It's coming back into popularity recently.
The West is fundamentally best characterized as an oppressive patriarchy, which is it's absolutely absurd proposition, and that as a consequence, whatever actions they might take that are forthright and ambitious in terms of participating in that system are by the very nature of the system destructive. It's very difficult for me to understand how anybody can be properly motivated if that's the fundamental view of society and male participation in it. And I don't buy any of that. I think the idea that the West is fundamentally an oppressive patriarchy is an appalling idea, and the notion that the proper way to view history is as a battleground between ethnic identities or identities in general, or between men and women, it borders on
Well,
the
I would take it
pathological.
even further. I wouldn't just say the West is an oppressive. I would say like society in general is an oppressive patriarchy. And I mean, I think it's designed that way because at certain times, well, you know, throughout most of our history, right, like it has been necessary for like the social dominance hierarchy to exist for us to be able to insulate ourselves from, you know, outside threats, right? Like in our various little tribes, like this is how we kept ourselves safe. Like now it's not necessary, right? Because you don't have to be, you know, the biggest guy on the block if you've got the biggest gun or whatever, or you know how to shoot it, right? So there's certain things that are like accepted in our society that aren't necessary. Like they're no longer necessary, but they were at a time. Oh, sure, Wilkes has been commenting on the last video. It's a miracle, I now believe, not. And belief isn't a measuring stick for truth. Joe Sam, true dat. True dat. See what Peterson has to say.
Pathological.
here.
And so maybe it exceeds just merely bordering on the pathological.
The worst violence, you know, can be the violence of the mind. And I think men today in our society are told, you know, virtually from their young age to now, when they grow up, that they're doing the wrong thing, that they have done the wrong thing historically, that there's no place for them. And I think that's what Jordan speaks to a lot of young men. And look, I'm a father of 3 young boys under 5, and you know, reading a lot of Jordan Peterson's works through the book, I can understand why it resonates with a lot of people, because men today have lost their identity, and I think feminism has become a movement to overtake.
How have men lost their identity? Like, where do you get the idea that men have lost their identity? Men have the same identity, like the same position in society they've always held. They still hold. Like most of those jobs that men traditionally occupied, men still occupy. There are some women there, right? But they're not taking over. Now, if you're talking about any type of, manly job, right? Now, that's according to, certain social norms and physical abilities that are more, conducive to men, right? Certain physical tasks and stuff like that. But even men don't really like doing those jobs, right? Most men don't like busting their backs, every day at these, like, I don't know what it is, most places, but unless you're in a union, like construction jobs or something like that, it's going to be extremely physically taxing, right? And the compensation isn't near what it should be. But I don't see that any of those things. So really, what is that men have to be nice. They don't get to demand things from women, right? And they don't get to demand things from quote unquote like inferior or beta males, because that's what they would have, like this caveman shit. I'm going to pound on my chest and make you do what I want, right? And they don't get to do that anymore, and that's the aspect of their identity that's taken away from them, and they're like they're mad about it, right? Obviously, because they don't get to just fucking bully people. Geo Sam says Peterson's rhetoric seems to be mostly for those who can't think for themselves. I think Peterson himself has said that, right? Like, people need to be led. We need, competent leaders, and he believes he is one of those competent leaders, despite much evidence to the contrary.
Masculinity, and
I'm a feminist. I don't want that.
Well, sure
I
you
don't
do.
hate
Sure you
men.
do.
I'm
Sure
not
you
trying
do.
to destroy men.
But
Alex,
it-
that's
but- but-
ridiculous.
I guess there's like large scale and small scale, right? Like he could probably lead, an academic group of some kind or something like that. Like I could lead a group of musicians, but that's not to say that like we should be leading, like the majority of people or all young men or something like that. Like that's his claim.
Let's look at the empirical evidence. Let's look at the empirical in our schools. It's boys who are falling behind now, actually, in primary schools. It's boys who are falling behind at universities. It's young men who are suffering and have the worst mental impacts. It's the highest rates of youth suicide. It's a serious issue. And I think, the question is right. I mean, yes, there's a lot of disenfranchisement in the world, but there are.
Like men have the higher rates of suicide overall, right? I don't know if that applies more to young men, but there's certainly not as many young men experiencing things like, SA and stuff like that. Like there's, probably more than what's reported, but it's still not near what it would be for females growing up, right?
There are movements persecuting men in today's world.
It's almost as though we're talking about a structural issue and you're talking about a personal issue, and people who take personally the idea that we need to change structures, I think are misreading what the complaint is that people have. And so for me, the problem that I have with kind of structural rigidity of gender roles for men and women is that they hurt men and they hurt women. They hurt both. They hurt the men who want to stay home longer with their kids. They hurt men in real physical ways, because we do have a problem in this country where women are more likely to be the victims of violence at home. Men are more likely to be the victims of violence in public. But in both, the common factor is it's men committing the violence by and large, not exclusively, but by and large. And so these rigid kind of ideas of masculinity hurt everyone. And so when we talk about feminism, when we talk about changing those structures, it's to create an equality for the benefit of everyone and to get rid of some of the things that hold everyone back.
The fundamental truth we need to grasp here.
Yeah, I think she makes a good point there too, that men are responsible for most of the violence that occurs out there, right? Like, there's no doubt about that. And that is, like, going back to that, dominant social hierarchy or whatever, where, if they can't finesse, if they can't, like coerce whoever into doing what they want, then they will just, force them to they will just use physical means. And so you just see more and more of that popping up. It's these people who have lower socioeconomic status, right, but who are physically capable, so then they just go out and they strong arm people for whatever, their perceived injustice because they didn't get their way, right? That's what it breaks down to. It's an overgrown child throwing a temper tantrum. And it's men who do this. Self-appointed leader.
Is that men are not oppressed because they're men. Men will be oppressed in their lives for all kinds of different reasons. They might be oppressed because they're working class. They might be oppressed because of their ethnicity or their religion or their age or their sexuality or their ability status. But at no point in human history have all men been judged, oppressed, disenfranchised, kicked out of institutions on behalf of their maleness. That just has not happened. What has happened in the West is that we developed democracy. And democracy actually meant the enfranchisement of all of us. It means the conversations about what society looks like, what manners are, what behaviour is, what courtesy looks like has changed because it's...
Yeah, it's funny because at some point, probably, I mean, it's happening in my lifetime. It probably started prior to that. I don't want to say just in my lifetime. But the shift has been going to where more and more in society, it is socially acceptable for men to actually listen to women and take them seriously. And, the more one leans in that direction of actually, taking the opinions of women seriously and like actually adapting your views and your mannerisms, right? Like to conform to that. Then all of a sudden, on the other end of the spectrum, you have these dudes who are all of a sudden calling you like blue pill or you're a cuck because you actually give a fuck what women think and say and feel, right? And so now all of a sudden you're like a traitor. That's basically what they're saying. It's like anybody who empathized with a black person back back in the day when they call them like a race traitor. Now they're doing that with the sexes. That's what that is.
Because it's not one group making that decision anymore. And I understand that that's a difficult transition for people who've grown up with narratives where those decisions and those institutions belong to a very narrow demographic of people, which, by the way, never included all men. That it's difficult to get your heads around a new way of behaving and engaging. But it's necessary because we are actually a community. We are one society. We all have an equal right to participate. And taking bait from internet misogynists on the oppression of men is not a conversation that I get into. I've been on the internet too long to fall for it. Men are not oppressed as a general group. And my sympathy to any man who does feel oppression in any other part of his life.
The point Van made is very difficult to argue with in the sense that if we'll start on a level playing field, it's no coincidence that women have only been largely voting and participating in democracy in Australia in the 20th century. Now, is that a total lack of intelligence, capacity or fairness? Or I don't know. It strikes me that you only have to look at most of those metrics to realise that the empowerment of women, the emergence of women from life beyond child rearing, and this is not to derogate child rearing at all. It's a vital foundational institution. But as women's horizons have expanded in a finite number of opportunities, some men have lost out, especially with as we've automated the expansion of technology that has removed a huge amount of emphasis on traditional masculine attributes of physical strength and so on. The workplace has changed. It's a fluid, dynamic environment. Men are feeling threatened by this. And there is a sense that some men are translating it as they're losing.
What I tell people consistently is that they have to look to themselves. And it's not because I believe that people are in full control of their lives. we're all subject to bad breaks and sometimes to terrible luck, but your best bet is to do what you can to take care of yourself properly, to treat yourself like you're someone responsible for helping, which is rule 2, by the way.
I don't even know, is that actually the response? It looked like there was like a cut in the video somewhere there somehow. But that doesn't even begin to address anything that was said there. Just being self-sufficient, like that's Jordan Peterson's default. Like, well, just be self-sufficient then, you know? Like, that doesn't address anything you were talking about. Like, I whatever, it's just like a weird deflection, I think.
Partly because I do believe in this ancient, fundamentally Western idea that people are of intrinsic value. I mean,
Hey,
look, we're all...
Mary, good to see you. I was born in the same town as Peterson. Raised by wolves. All right. Well, good times.
We're all given the sovereign right to organize our own states, the responsibility to vote. Our state, our very state, assumes that you have the wisdom to keep the ship of state sailing straight. And it's because there's something about you that, at least in principle, has the possibility of being remarkable if it can be manifested. And I'm reminding people that not only do we believe that, but that it seems to be true. And it isn't obvious to me that there is anyone, or there has been anyone for the last 4 or 5 decades, let's say, who's done a credible job of drawing a relationship between the meaning in life that you need to sustain you and responsibility. And not just for you, because it's not a...
What did that have anything to do with the debate that was being had, though? It was, is the claim that women don't share equal responsibilities. And, I mean, I don't know, as far as Canadian policy, how far that, like, there's certain aspects in U.S. policy, like for selective service, like women don't have to register for military service, and men still do. Right, okay. And that's the fault of the government, right? As far as I know, I don't think we've even voted on that in I don't know how long. That's just the policy they institute, right? So is there some Canadian equivalent to that?
Not an
Well,
individualistic
and here
idea.
I think they're talking about Australian policy because he's on an Australian network. So I don't know. I don't even know where we're like. Just overall, is this like a human rights issue? I don't, but individual responsibility, bro.
Yeah, it's responsibility for you and your family
Coming up to a
and your
minute there,
community.
Jordan.
That'll do the trick. And your broader society.
The bigger issue is looking at disenfranchisement. People aren't...
So these seem to be like clips from this. It's not the actual live engagement.
disenfranchised. If you're being sold that it's feminism, a movement for equality that's never thrown a bomb, that's never picked up a gun, that's disenfranchising you, or globalism or socialism, we have not lived in socialist economies in the West.
See, we got John Fabiano in chat. Hello, welcome. And Gio says, my mother swam upstream and that's where I was spawned. Nice. Oh, all right. Well, thanks for lurking, John. Good to see you.
In a very long time. It's been 4 decades of neoliberalism. And it's neoliberalism which has smashed communities. It's neoliberalism which has made consumption and material acquisition dominant values in society. It's neoliberalism that has destroyed the workplace and made jobs insecure and made our experience of economy so unstable. If people are feeling disenfranchised, if men feel disenfranchised, please let me reassure you that women feel disenfranchised as well, because we are all living in this destabilised economy and we are all suffering from that kind of consumer ideology.
I think it's a lazy term, identity politics. All politics is identity politics. Parties campaign on identity. It's whether they say we're a party of individual freedom. That's an identity. It's a concept. The idea that identity is purely clustered around rainbow politics or feminism or race. And again, I sound like I'm having a bet each way, and I probably am, because I'm torn on this. I was a bloke this day 7 years ago. So I've been on both sides. I don't believe I was toxic as a guy, but I could go back through my career and have plenty of times I didn't cover myself in glory, locker room talk, the whole lot. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to pretend that we're all on a level playing field. But likewise, I just think this identity politics thing now is a lazy slogan that's eliminating real differences. And politics is about these symbols. And it's terrific we're all here having this disagreement tonight, because that's the great strength of the West, is that we do this in public.
Indeed.
And that no one deplatformed this gentleman, which would have been reprehensible. And I'm thrilled that we're here having this discussion.
Okay. So that was that. I don't know. I didn't think Peterson contributed terribly much to the conversation there. I wasn't impressed. All right. Oh, we got that one out. Yeah, my Sunday morning has been eventful. I hope yours has been somewhat more relaxing, but hey, we're here, so. I think we might try to finish this video. Jeff himself actually went back and deconstructed this video as well. I haven't watched that yet, but I saw that he posted it. And it had a very interesting title. So I'll just go back to this one. He's talking to a young college student in this video, and I mean, he's mostly pretty polite. There's some
Stop asking research questions to ChatGPT.
There's some questionable tactics, I would say, in here. Some dishonesty for sure, but he's doing it for the video, right? So he's trying to do it's like reverse Magna Bosco, like epistemology type stuff. But he's doing this in the apologetics realm. So, all right. And I covered this. I covered the beginning of this video the other day. If you didn't see it.
Right, so he can be he has all these features of him that are very immaterial and very
good. That's it. You nailed it. You nailed it. The Christian worldview has a justification for the immaterial. If you give Jesus up, you don't have a justification for immaterial. All you have is matter.
Okay.
You see? Christian worldview has a basis for the immaterial.
I missed some comments pertinent to the last video there, so it's back. Geo Sam says, don't you first need to have a franchise to be disenfranchised? One would think, right? But no, it turns out if a franchise doesn't exist for you, you are disenfranchised, automatically. Like, you were born disenfranchised. That is a thing, Where's this franchise they speak of? Cryptomary says it's become a system of victimhood. Yeah. I mean, victim mentality is definitely not desirable, I would say, but it's also important to notice when people are trying to assert dominance over you, right? Because people can do this in very subtle ways, and we see this all the time, at work, out in society, people, commit these, I hate to use the term, but microaggressions, things where they'll either look at you in a certain way, and you might misinterpret that, right? But, you usually know when somebody is kind of looking at you in a certain way. It says if you say you're both going towards the checkout line in the grocery store, and, you're an equal distance from the back of the line, and then it's okay, who's gonna get there first? And they give you that look, and you're oh, I'm gonna have to fight this person. And you have to decide, is it worth battling over that spot at the checkout line? And, you know, shit like that happens every day, right? That's just, you know, a minor example, obviously. But, I mean, people are doing this stuff all the time. All the time. This is how we act.
Immaterial.
So you're saying you need something immaterial to have immaterial ideas such as logic, so you could prove material things.
You would need a basis to be able to appeal to the immaterial.
Okay, so I agree with you there that you would need some immaterial thing to kind of build your logic from, to where you could have things like proofs and experiments. But I think I just really can't buy that the immaterial has to be the God of the Christians specifically, and I don't really see how in the Christian Bible it implies that just because logic exists, all these miracles happened, all these things happened, and the Christian God is.
No, we're just doing this
having
kind
a
of. We're
hard
doing
time
this kind of
understanding
piecemeal. I'm just touching kind of each point at a time.
So basically, just God is real because of these immaterial.
No, we're
laws,
saying because God is, we can have a justification for immaterial laws like laws of logic. We can have a justification for the uniformity of nature. We can have a justification for absolute moral obligations and ethical obligations to each other.
So wait, what was your immaterial? Like, how could logic come from God? Could you explain that to me?
Yeah,
Sorry,
so no, it's okay. So because we have the revelation of God, God's walked among us, He's spoken to us.
Okay.
We have a meaningful worldview and justification to believe in immaterial entities like laws of logic, because we have a basis for the immaterial.
No. Let me actually restate that for Jeff to make it more accurate. Because we have a book, we read a book, and we believe what it says in the book. Therefore, we base all our beliefs on our belief in that book. Like, that's actually what Jeff just said there. Because he just stated that all the things that were said in the book were true. Like, as if we should just presuppose all those things, right?
In nature, we can have a justification for absolute moral obligations and ethical obligations to each other.
So wait, what was your immaterial? Like, how could logic come from God? Could you explain that to me?
Yeah,
Sorry,
so
I just don't know.
no, it's okay. So because we have the revelation of God, God's walked among us, He's spoken to us.
Okay.
The revelation of God is the Bible, right? That's it.
We have a meaningful worldview and justification to believe in immaterial entities like laws of logic, because we have a basis for the.
Because the Bible, we have just like that's
immaterial and the material. We have a basis for laws of all kinds, and so again, in order to demonstrate the
you don't need
laws of law.
justification for something. Like, you can presuppose the thing that can already be demonstrated. You don't have to presuppose another thing to presuppose a law that demonstrates the condition which already exists. Like, you don't need to reinforce, right, that thing that you can already demonstrate. So you can already demonstrate that thing, you just stand alone. They don't need to be in conjunction, right?
Of logic, you have to have a worldview that comports with the laws of logic. So one thing people have tried, like atheists have said, "Dang, this is a difficult one." Atheists have.
I was trying to think of. I hadn't. Hold on. Let me see if I can think of it here.
I'm still not proven on your first like axiom. If you would be like, you're saying like, okay, logic is an immaterial idea that we've conjectured to kind of make sense of the world.
No, I'm saying it's bigger. It's bigger. It's more profound than that.
You're saying since it's immaterial, it must come from something that's absolute, can't lie, and is immaterial for this to be true?
That's an aspect of the conversation. What I'm saying is, it's not just something that we've thought of with our human minds, right? So, like, if somebody said,
how do you know that?
Here's because we appeal to it all the time and build bridges because of it. So, if somebody said the laws of logic, we've just sort of come up with these laws in our minds.
Build bridges because of it.
That means that somebody could just create another version of logic that says, go ahead and contradict yourself. It's okay to contradict yourself. That's the law of logic. If it's just a part of human minds and our brain gas.
No, it's not happening. I thought I was trying to come up with an example that would parallel, like, basically his whole claim here, though. But basically, he's like, okay, we need to believe in this one thing, logic, right? Like, you can use it, you can demonstrate it every day, but we need a metaphysical, some reinforcement for this idea that we believe, that we can see, we can observe it, we use it, right? Like, there's not really a dispute behind logic. It's just where logic comes from. And so that's where they want to, find. And so, and then because I believe the Bible is true, I believe these statements or these facts, these things in the Bible are true. Necessarily, that is my reinforcement for logic, even if the things that I believe in the Bible are true are illogical, right? The statements made in the book itself are illogical, but I use them as my metaphysical reinforcement for logic, which is illogical. That doesn't make any sense.
Then it's just invented and it's not law-like. If it's just a part of the human brain inventing
like
things,
logic is discovered from patterns in nature.
Logic is something human beings.
Oh, looks like John Fabiano said, I like polite. Sorry, I missed that there. James Apperson says her testimony is weak sauce. I imagine, is that the beginning? The first chick? Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty weak. If you're back at the beginning of the video. There, yeah. We got a lot of, if you haven't seen Apostle Queen Belemsi's channel, she's got some very interesting stuff going on over there. And it looks very positive until you like really give it a second glance, and you see how just messed up it is, man. Yeah. I originally saw her over at Afro Atheist channel. I don't think she covers her anymore. But yeah.
Human
that
beings,
we just have innately.
it's something that human beings recognize as embedded in nature, or reflects the very thinking of God.
Okay, I can agree that we find it embedded in
and
nature.
it's not something that we just invented in our own minds. Otherwise, you and I could create our own versions of laws of logic.
Well, no, because even things like animals show logic at times.
Very good.
I feel like
they reflect the very thinking of the Creator. It's not
yeah,
chaotic.
Aren't the people of God, right? Like,
it just reflects that animals show, of course, a special creative aspect to them, that they are even themselves dependent upon a created order that acts a certain way. My point is, and this is the point, just for you to think about. You checked your phone. I don't know if you have to go.
Yeah,
okay, so no, I don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah, just if you're interested, you want to see some crazy. I just posted a link there inside chat. And it's how to anoint your water against witchcraft. Just for a taster there.
Or make you lose a class or something. But the proof of the Christian God is, apart from Him, you can't prove anything. Proof requires logical consistency, laws of logic. It requires the uniformity in nature, and it requires an ethical obligation to tell the truth. If you believe that you live...
Sorry, I thought it was paused there for a second. John Fabiano says, just to be clear, the argument is shit, but I like polite people. Thank you. Yes, I figured as much, but thank you for clarifying.
You live in a universe that came from nothing, your ancestors were fish, and that there are no ultimates above any of us, and there's nothing as guided. You have to depend upon Jesus every day of your life to want proof.
I don't see either of those, that we came from fish and that the universe came from nothing.
Do you believe that?
I don't see those as absolutes, right? Like, I just think that, like, if I use kind of the, like, laws that I understand and know, what has the highest probability of occurring? And then I kind of just am like, okay, maybe I'll believe something like this, and then until a theory of quantum gravity and a theory of, like...
You want to believe things that are only true.
Yeah, I at least want to attempt to.
Welcome to the Christian worldview.
Okay, but
What did Jesus say? Jesus said his
things are
claim.
true if it's Christian.
No. Here,
Therefore,
I'm saying that
you can't believe
in order
it's
for you
not
to
Christian.
have truth, you have to have Jesus.
Okay.
Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And so that's the claim of Jesus, that
But
he is the
Jonestown
truth.
said that. Like lots of people have said, "I'm the truth. I'm right."
Are you talking exactly? Very, very good.
So why
You
should I
nailed.
believe
Actually, that's better than I said it to you earlier. When you talk about drinking the Kool-Aid and the guy who leads a bunch of people to their death in Jonestown, or you talk about David Koresh, you're talking about two men that did claim to be God.
Yeah, and they're wrong, obviously.
Right. So did Jesus.
Okay, yeah.
So Jesus is either a fraud and a con man like them, or he is the Lord of glory and he is the truth.
Okay, this is
That's
true.
all I'm asking you to do, is to think about Jesus in that way.
Okay, I think that the things he said were helpful and can help people and are.
How about the fact that he said that he was
correct.
God and that we would be condemned and go to hell if we didn't trust in him?
I honestly think that.
Am I? Oh, and isn't there like another option here where, maybe Jesus was, real? He was a cool dude, and maybe, he was just like a flawed human being, or, maybe people told stories about him because he never wrote any of the stuff down himself, right? And they inserted like their own bullshit into the narrative, right? And totally mischaracterized him and some of the stuff he's, I don't know, maybe, could be.
Maybe he grew up like with his rabbi studies in the temple, that's what they taught him for so long, that he thought that
The rabbis were angry that he called himself God. They tried to stone him for calling himself God.
I feel like it's higher probability that he was a very wise and emotionally kind man, but maybe a little mistaken about what he was here to do versus that he was genuinely a god.
Mistaken. It'd be bad to be mistaken.
I feel like
Well,
that he's
Jesus, according,
mistaken that
think about
he's
this.
God.
Jesus, according to you, was the descendant of fish. It's not wrong for a descendant of fish to be mistaken about anything. Who cares?
You're okay, but according to
Who cares?
to me, you are too.
So what?
Wait,
Our ancestors were bacteria.
Wait, so what?
I'm pressing on your atheism.
Okay.
If our ancestors were bacteria,
Okay.
then
It's time for you to get your reading super powered. So stop straining your eyes and start listening instead.
I have to do a lot of reading for my job,
then someone being mistaken isn't a problem. There's no ultimate.
Yeah, there's no ultimate. It's okay for him to be mistaken. I just think it's a little not fair for him to lead people
Fair?
into something.
Justice matters?
Yeah, because there's people that have ended their lives early.
Bacteria ought to hold to justice?
No, I just think that I don't want to hurt anything.
Why? Is there value?
Maybe I think of different perspectives.
Does this anger you?
I mean, maybe you killed some ant or
Right.
something.
But does it bother you that I do that to this matter?
No.
So what if one evolved piece of matter causes the bloodshed of another? What meaning is there in that?
I guess in the grand scheme of things, nothing.
There you go. There's your atheism. And you won't live that way. I know you don't really. See,
Because I'm not going to hurt people. I'd go to jail.
you haven't been able to shake your Christian faith loose yet. I know you're not a Christian.
I feel like that's just
But you haven't been able to.
morality for the sake of altruism.
Not
You could
an
express it as that,
atheism.
too.
Not an atheism.
But even in the sense of altruism and you can come up with a logical
altruism is meaningless for the descendants of back.
He is just absolutely steamrolling this kid at this point. Yeah, false dichotomy, GeoSam. He is just, and it's hard to say whether, he just found this kid on the street, but his arguments are fucking weak, and he's just bloviating. So, I'm not here to debunk the whole thing, though. I'm just kind of looking at his approach. Okay.
It's a bacteria.
No, it's not, because if cells could find a way to bunch together, then it'll be bigger, so it'll have a higher chance of survival.
Bigger. Why don't we?
Yeah, I don't know. Bacteria. You've got colonies of bacteria in your guts, Jeff.
Why don't we kerosene the whole anthill?
Bacteria
what do you
are
mean?
a part of
Right.
you. Tell me you don't understand evolution without telling me you don't understand evolution.
Hey,
You're
can I
talking.
finish?
Yeah, sure.
I was saying, like, it's more like the reason why organisms kind of evolved from bacteria, as you say, is that which one has a higher chance of winning? A single cell versus a single enemy cell, or 10 cells that bunch together versus one?
Sure.
And then if one of those cells wants to eat one of those other ones, and they kill it really fast so it doesn't let it, or if all these cells kind of like don't want to attack each other when they fuse to each other, it has a higher chance of surviving.
So
once
you're
they
acting
don't
like
do
life.
that-
You're acting like life is valuable enough to be concerned with.
John says so much for polite. Hey, I thought we were being pretty polite here.
That's surviving. But your worldview is purposeless
maybe
time
we
and
just
chance
think
acting
it's
on matter.
surviving.
It's
I
just
think we just think surviving
stuff.
is good because
So why?
it was good for us back
There's a
then.
lot of people that think
But-
that we should not allow other humans to survive.
Yeah, I've seen people like that. I honestly don't know.
Is it wrong?
Like, what do you mean not allow others to survive? Like,
Well,
that we
there's
should,
I mean, dude, you know this. I mean, there's so
like,
many
euthanize
instances.
ourselves, like,
Yeah, there's
stop having
instances.
humans?
There's instances in the last 100 years. I brought up Pol Pot, Mao,
Right.
Stalin. They believe that these people shouldn't survive. Hitler did the same thing.
Yeah.
The Green River Killer, Ted Bundy, a number of different serial killers. They just figured out who they're
Eugenics, psychopaths, yeah, no.
Jack the Ripper was, which I think is amazing. They did through DNA analysis.
Wait, really?
Yeah, dude. They
I
just
thought
found
they
out
didn't they
this
couldn't
week.
discover them.
This
Wait,
week,
really?
yeah, he was
Okay,
a
I should
Polish.
look that up.
He was a Polish barber in London.
Barber.
Yeah, Polish barber.
Because
And
apparently he showed signs of like anatomically knowing.
we were just talking about this last night. Do you know that barbers used to? This is a total tangent. Did you know that barbers used to have they needed like a low-level medical kind of degree
interesting.
because they would do sort of like basic level medicine stuff
Oh, so
in the
that's where he
barber
knew
shop.
where to get. Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay,
So
sorry.
they found it because they had some old because that was only the end of the 19th century that he was doing that.
Yeah.
They found some of the articles from some of his crime scenes where they've had them. London has them, and they did DNA analysis and they put it into the system, and they found his descendants
Is that,
through.
is that true? Do you see this on like a Discovery documentary or something?
Ancestry.com kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they found his bloodline, and they were like, well, he was a suspect. The Polish barber was a suspect, but they never caught him. Anyway, they found him. Where I don't even know where we're at now. Where were we at?
You were saying that we kind of go like back and forth. On,
No, it's
like,
okay.
little things,
I just wanted to.
I think I'm still.
Oh
back at
no,
the
this
point
is
where-
this is the point.
Okay, yeah.
I'm saying to you that God says that we all know Him.
Okay.
Okay, we
Why
all.
don't I?
Well, you do. And here's what I'm saying.
I just need to see. or
here's what I'm
feel
saying.
Something that's
Here-
like real.
Here's what I'm saying. You demonstrate every day. This is what I'll leave you with. You demonstrate every single day of your life, every breath, every moment. When you walk away from here, every single step is going to be showing you that you know the God that I'm talking about. You're dependent upon Him every moment of your life in your ethical claims.
Okay, so it does say here that, in medieval and modern England, barber surgeons performed both barbering and surgical duties, often through apprenticeship rather than formal medical degrees, and were regulated by guilds, not universities. This is during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. Surgery was considered a lowly trade, so they relied on barbers who were skilled with knives for procedures like bloodletting, tooth extraction, and wound care. So I guess there is some historical shit beyond what you're saying. But, all right, whatever.
In your dependence upon the laws of logic, the laws of math.
Yeah. And dental too, they would pull all your teeth. Yeah. Pull your teeth.
the laws of gravity. You're dependent upon him in every breath and every single move. Your problem, I would say, is the same as me before Christ. It's not a lack of evidence or light from God. It's that we're sinners. We don't want him. We rebel against him.
Well, no, I want to know the truth. So if God's real, I would rather be Christian for that sake, just to know, to believe in what's true. Like, I don't want to reject something just because, oh, it doesn't let me jack off and smoke weed. Like, that's stupid. Like, I want to, if I believe in something, I want it to be because it's true.
Remember a moment ago when I said you're going to be dependent upon the Christian God? You're going to violate your atheism every step. That's not an atheist talking.
Like, I feel like you keep saying things, but it's not connecting in my brain.
I know.
You're, like, saying something, and then you're just saying,
that's not atheism.
A mark of God.
That's
then,
not
like,
atheism.
Why is that a mark of God? And you go, because it's a mark of God.
No, that's not what I said. That would be circular reasoning, and that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
And that would be a problem.
Say it like the whole thing again.
That's not the form of circular reasoning you're using. You're using another form of circular reasoning when you say, because the Bible, therefore God. God, therefore the Bible, therefore, whatever, one of those.
Like the proofs of, like, what, like, I get it, uniformity.
Laws of logic.
Well, laws of logic and
ethical obligations.
Ethical obligations.
Absolutes.
Okay, so if I can explain ethical obligation by altruism, and then
but you can't. Not with atheism, because you got to do it with atheism.
Because there's a higher probability of, if I stick together, of surviving than if I go by.
You can do it. You don't have to do it with atheism, right? Like, atheism is over here, and then you're like, okay, altruism, I can use another subset of, oh wait, humanism. Yeah, I can use humanism, and then just be like, okay, so now I'm a humanist, and I have, altruistic, what do you call that? You know what I'm talking about.
I go by myself.
But that's irrelevant in atheism. We're just protoplasm, and universe that doesn't care about us. Our ancestors were bacteria.
Right, but things that want to survive.
That's what I was looking for. Imperative.
Are more likely to survive versus things that don't want to survive.
Here's my answer with atheism. Ready? I'm going to use atheism. So what? It's bacteria.
Yeah, I agree. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. But
there you go.
This little thing, this is why we stay alive.
That's the end of it, though.
Yeah, we stay alive
Ready?
because of impulse.
You just said it.
Okay.
All you have is impulse. You don't have absolutes. So when the man rapes the woman, all you can say as an atheist is,
he said it. Oh.
Well, we find that uncomfortable now. It's not absolutely wrong. In the grand scheme of things, what he does to rape her is not really wrong. We're just uncomfortable with it for today. We've decided for now that we don't like that.
No, it's wrong. There's a number of reasons that it's wrong. Like, apart from, so there's the violation of her autonomy, and then there's, on his part, there is the, so formally when we say, like, if somebody lashes out, right, they commit an act of aggression against another person, right, like they are also committing some type of, basically, if they have any type of moral code, right, like they have a structure in their, like they believe that things are valuable, right? They are devaluing themselves once they commit that act of aggression against another person, right? And it might be like subconsciously or something. Tautology. My Awesome Life says, I'm literally at church and must go back inside or God's gonna smite my ass. Have fun. The unbeatable so what argument is the best he's offered. Nuh-uh. No, I like the bacteria argument. That's great. I mean, it's not true, but it's great that he thinks he can use that and see the kids. It's not like, we're I hated when they, like, when he was like, oh, well, this is matter, and he was like, I'm gonna stomp on this matter, does that hurt you? And it's like, okay, not all matter is equal or whatever. I mean, so what does that prove? What does it prove to say that like some matter is distinct from others and some matter is like sentient and some is not? That doesn't really afford you a point, right? It just says that different stuff exists. It's not saying anything.
That's atheism. Saying
I agree
exactly
that
what I'm saying.
as an atheist, in the grand scheme of like, well, the whole universe, we're all gonna die, and that it doesn't matter. I agree, but while we are alive,
There you go.
We have a limited experience.
So?
I feel like
There's
it's
actually
it,
speaking of which, I found this.
Why is everybody
It's
putting up with ads like it's 2010? Like it's 2025, guys. Just use
Remember what I told
this
you to
Chrome
do about
extension takes 5 seconds to set up and blocks ads on any
all the live
website you
streams.
visit. It makes the ads just like disappear. It's that simple. No more interruptions. But it gets even better with.
So I pulled up the
at least the most logical to make that.
the browser that Hillary's emails recommended to me, and so I have to install it on Linux, which basically means I have to like copy some code over and then email it to myself on a different account, and then it's just like a whole thing. But anyway, I'm working on that, and then maybe I'll get an ad blocker on here. So.
Make that experience as pleasurable as I can for others. Then it would be to her.
John Level says you don't seem to be able to tune in a station. Nope, never have, never will.
Dignity, value, and
Okay,
others.
so
You
if
gave all that
morality-
up. You already
so-
gave it up.
Okay, wait. One question. So if
Sure.
morality comes from logic, is what you're saying? Morality can kind of come from logic. So you're saying essentially that logic cannot exist without God. Why?
Check your antenna. Will do, yeah.
Why are these things like? Because basically the uniformity and the morality can kind of go back to logic if you explain it in the right way. So
They're all interconnected.
God.
It's all interconnected. Like,
so why do I need logic to believe? Like, why do I need God to have logic? Or to
you
like,
need to be able to because you need to be able to justify, provide a meaningful justification, something that provides the preconditions necessary to make it intelligible.
Okay, sorry. I was having trouble pausing the video for some reason, but he asked the perfect question there. Why do I need God to have logic? Why is that necessary?
You have to be able to justify an appeal to immaterial, invariant, unchanging laws that exist. You can't do that in atheism. That's gone.
And wait, why are you saying that that's gone because of atheism?
Because if you believe in a naturalistic materialist worldview, you believe that all that exists is matter. If all that exists is matter, then immaterial laws don't exist.
Okay, I agree that there's not a
provides the preconditions necessary to make it intelligible. You have to be able to justify an appeal to immaterial, invariant, unchanging laws that exist. You can't do that.
You don't have to justify the laws. If they exist, they're already justified by the fact that they're demonstrated and the fact that you cannot violate them. Why you don't have to? So you appeal to them, like gravity. I could claim that gravity doesn't exist. I could say that, but can I disprove it? Is there any way that, like, how am I going to disprove gravity? Doesn't make any type of sense. What is he talking about?
Do that in atheism. That's gone.
And wait, why are you saying that that's gone because of atheism?
Because if you believe in a naturalistic materialist worldview, you believe that all that exists is matter. If all that exists is matter, then immaterial laws don't exist.
immaterial laws govern material things, right? Like, and they're not immaterial laws. That's not a. I don't know how you would even say immaterial. Like, because material things exist, laws therefore exist, governing those material entities, like their interactions, right? Like, and the laws aren't laws in like the sense that they're like legislated, like the way that we like governance, like, you know, in the universal sense isn't the same as like governance in the human sense, where like we think up rules and then we like enact the enforcement of these rules to like formulate societies. That's not the way the universe works, right? Like, it's just like there's a parallel there, but the language I think is like misleading. He's trying to act like and I guess this is like all the precepts do this, right? Like they try to act like a law. Oh, well, if there's a law, there must be a lawgiver. Like there has to be somebody behind the law. Be some dude. Yeah, John Fapiano says, laws don't exist. They are behaviors that the majority agree on. I can break any law because they don't exist. Well, yeah, but if you break the law of gravity, you might not exist afterward, right? Like, that's the problem with that, I think. You know, like, there's certain laws that definitely exist. Like, laws of the universe exist. The God that cannot be known did it. Yeah. He's hiding. He's the hidden God. He wants to remain hidden until he's revealed to you.
Okay, I agree that there's not a there's not a current like understanding.
So you live by faith.
I agree that the probability of some mechanism that invokes these laws, that I don't fully know what invokes these laws.
So you live by faith.
I think that
See?
It kind of feels like.
But see, I don't live by blind faith. You're living by blind faith.
Like so you could appeal to whatever he called the uniformity of nature, or whatever, right? Like, and that's true, right? But you don't need God for the uniformity of nature. That's a separate claim. You can have the unity of nature by like I think we looked at this before. It's like a non-divine natural law. It just says the universe exists and governs itself in such a way, yada yada, etc. And you don't need any like extra claims on that. John says, "I'm not talking about physical laws." Aren't we all? Whose law? This. You ever seen like those SovCit videos? There's some like SovCit videos out there where they're like arguing with like the highway patrolman or something. They're like basically like they can like speed and drive without license plates because God or some shit. Like I don't know. It's out there.
I live in a faith that is rooted in truth, facts, history, God condescending, walking among us, His Word. My worldview can account for all of your experience. Every experience you have every day shows that you know the God that I'm talking about. The problem is our sin and our rebellion.
Never seen, heard any miracle, never had any revelation, never had Him talk to me. I was praying every day, trying to believe in God, heard nothing, saw nothing, and then I feel like the more I learn, the more I just see that everything can be explained without it. And I get that you're trying to say like, sorry, I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say.
It's okay. Hey, can I exchange information with you?
He's like, dude, I tried all that shit and it didn't work for me. And now I'm like standing here, like Jeff, he's probably like pretty compelling in person, like I guess, like he might be, a little bit intimidating in some ways. And that's going to make you feel like, it's like that, beta male shit or whatever, like they talk about, because this kid, he's not, imposing, as you might say. His demeanor. So Jeff kind of gets like this. He's got this like big brotherly thing going on the whole time.
They just show a whole bunch of review channels, but like
died from malnutrition, from not being.
I was trying to find something else here, but I haven't been able to locate that.
he
So.
made it sound. He's like, "I given all my time to you, content creators, and now my dog."
Oh yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's not important right now. All right. I think I'm gonna go ahead and kill the stream here. I got some stuff to get done, but thank you everybody for coming by. And John said he wasn't praying right, and that's that's like 99.9% of your problem. If you haven't converted to Christianity yet, it's probably because you're not praying right. You haven't sufficiently believed. Hey, Sammy, good to see you there. You're coming right at the end, but nice to see you all the same. I hope everybody has had a fantastic Sunday. Mine's just begun here. So we had some time. We looked at some videos, and not sure when I will have time to do this again. Maybe later on in the week, but just the same. Geo Sam says, I usually avoid much convo with people who profess Elvis. And on that note, I will bid y'all good day. Much love. Be kind. Be well. And stay trusty. And have an awesome week. See you later.